Training camp wasn't supposed to start like this. The Cleveland Browns walked into this season ready to turn the page, ready to rebuild trust with their fans, and ready to reset the identity of the franchise. But almost immediately, the story everyone thought they knew shifted. What was expected to be a calm ramp-up into preseason became something else entirely. A brewing storm centered around one position: quarterback. There were already questions about the offense, the coaching, the direction of the franchise, but nobody expected the quarterback room to become the battleground that defined everything. Everyone knew Shedeur Sanders was coming in with hype, expectations, and eyes on him. Fans expected progress. Analysts expected patience. The organization expected development. And Shedeur himself, he expected an opportunity, not a guarantee, not a handout, but a fair shot. But within the first 24 hours, that expectation collided headfirst with reality. Because when the team took the field, the reps told a story louder than any headline, louder than any media narrative. Dillon Gabriel, the veteran presence, the system-ready quarterback, lined up with the first team. And Sanders, he stood on the sideline waiting, watching, observing, trying not to react. To the outside world, it looked like a small detail. To the players, to the coaches, to Sanders, it was a declaration. The competition wasn't symbolic. It was real. And as the first whistle blew, you could feel the energy shift. The veterans watched closely. Younger players looked uncertain. Coaches exchanged looks, not panicked ones, but calculating ones, because this wasn't just about who could throw a tight spiral or read a blitz. This was about identity, about control, about the future of the organization. The cameras weren't supposed to catch it, but they did. Sanders standing with his helmet tucked under his arm, staring at the field like a man who knew exactly what was happening but refused to be rattled by it. No frustration, no visible tension, no panic, just focus. If you're enjoying this video and loving the content, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us know what you want to see more of. And why keep all the excitement to yourself? Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves NFL drama. Reporters whispered, "Is this intentional? Is Gabriel really ahead? Is Sanders not ready?" And then came the question that would dominate social media, fan debates, and sports talk shows. Did Shedeur just lose his shot before it even started? But that's the part most people missed, because while everyone else was reacting, Sanders was studying. He wasn't just watching practice. He was analyzing positioning, timing, protections. He wasn't discouraged. He wasn't shaken. He wasn't defeated. He was plotting his moment. Because for Shedeur Sanders, this wasn't a setback. It was motivation. Fuel. A reminder that in the NFL, nothing is promised, and everything is earned. And the moment he finally spoke, calmly, confidently, he said just 6 words that changed the entire tone of camp. "I just need the reps." Not anger, not excuses, not pressure. A warning. A promise. A beginning. Long before Shedeur Sanders took his first NFL snap, before the debates, before the uncertainty, one decision shifted the entire direction of the franchise, and it caught everyone off guard. The Browns' front office had spent months saying all the right things, signaling patience, development, and a long-term vision. But then came the trade. A move so unexpected that even players inside the building found out the same way fans did, through a notification. The Browns didn't just add another quarterback. They added Dillon Gabriel, a seasoned, polished, system-ready passer who didn't need time to develop. He wasn't a project. He wasn't a future option. He was someone who could play right now. To the media, it looked like simple insurance, a smart move just in case Sanders needed time. But inside the organization, people knew it meant something much bigger. The quarterback job was no longer symbolic. It was up for grabs. Before the trade, Sanders was clearly positioned as the future face of the franchise. Fans were ready to build around him. Analysts were projecting highlight plays, rookie storylines, and breakout potential. But the moment Gabriel arrived, everything shifted. The tone changed from excitement to competition, and that competition wasn't carefully controlled or quietly implied. It It was aggressive. Coaches immediately praised Gabriel's leadership. Analysts pointed to his accuracy and decision-making. And social media, it split right in half. One side said, "Finally, someone to push Shedeur." The other side said, "This feels personal." Rumors spread quickly. Some claimed the coaching staff wasn't convinced Sanders was ready. Others suggested ownership forced the trade to protect the season. A few insiders even hinted that there were concerns about Sanders adjusting to NFL speed, though nothing on record ever confirmed that. But here, where it gets interesting. Despite the chaos online, Gabriel never treated it like a rivalry. He showed up smiling, talking about teamwork, preparation, and earning trust. No arrogance, no entitlement, just confidence, the kind that comes from knowing the playbook, understanding expectations, and being comfortable in the environment Sanders was just stepping into. And yet, for all the calm Gabriel carried, Sanders wasn't intimidated, he was energized. Not once did he complain publicly. Not once did he hint frustration. Instead, the trade lit a fire. Teammates noticed he stayed longer in film study. Assistants noticed he started asking different questions, deeper ones. Even reporters whispered that his body language changed from hopeful rookie energy to locked-in competitor. So while the outside world argued about who should start, something else was happening behind the scenes, something that wasn't in the plan, but was becoming impossible to ignore. The trade didn't just bring competition. It created a rivalry. One player came prepared. The other came hungry. And the battle was only just beginning. The excitement, the noise, the hype, all of it faded the moment the quarterbacks stepped onto the field together. Training camp is honest. It doesn't care about college highlights, draft buzz, social media followers, or expectations. It exposes everything: strengths, flaws, confidence, hesitation. And for Shedeur Sanders, that first full practice wasn't just another day. It was a wake-up call. From the very first drill, the difference between college rhythm and NFL speed was impossible to ignore. Timing windows disappeared faster. Defensive backs anticipated routes before receivers finished their breaks. The pocket collapsed in a blink. Every moment demanded instant decisions. No hesitation, no second looks, no do-overs. And that's when it hit. The NFL wasn't just harder, it was unforgiving. While Gabriel moved smoothly through the offense, hitting reads with calm precision, Sanders had to adjust. Some passes were sharp, perfect spirals, clean timing, flashes of undeniable talent. But other moments? They showed exactly why patience had been part of the original plan. A mistimed throw here, a hesitation there, a missed audible. Each small mistake wasn't catastrophic, but in a league built on perfection, they stacked quickly. Teammates saw it, coaches saw it, Sanders saw it most. And yet, this wasn't embarrassment. It wasn't meltdown. It was clarity. The illusion of a guaranteed starting role vanished, replaced by a deeper truth. If he wanted the job, he'd have to take it. But here, what made the moment powerful: Sanders didn't shrink. He didn't panic. He didn't act like a rookie drowning in pressure. Instead, he showed something far more dangerous to everyone in that building. He adjusted. The next rep was cleaner. The next read was quicker. The next throw carried intention, not just hope. Players on the defense later said his eyes changed, from analytical to competitive. The receivers, they said the tempo sharpened. Even the quarterback coach admitted under his breath, he learns fast. Still, the gap was there. Gabriel looked ready now. Sanders looked like someone who could become unstoppable, later. And that uncertainty became the topic of every quiet hallway conversation. Do you start the polished guy who's ready to manage games and run the playbook? Or do you take the risk, the talent, the upside, the potential superstar, and live with the growing pains? No one said it out loud, but Shedeur knew the reality. This wasn't college. Reputation didn't matter. Expectation didn't matter. Only performance did. And as practice ended, Sanders walked off the field without frustration, just focus. He wasn't discouraged by the challenge. He was motivated by it. Because now, more than ever, he understood the truth. The NFL would not give him anything. He'd have to earn everything. But the next chapter, that's where things take a turn. Because just when the pressure seemed overwhelming, something or someone changed the entire energy of camp. Nobody expected Shedeur to speak. Not that day. Not after the scrutiny, the whispers, and the growing narrative that he wasn't ready. Most rookies in that situation keep quiet, put their head down, and hope the noise fades on its own. But Shedeur Sanders isn't most rookies. He walked into the media room calm, controlled, composed, the same way he walked into every high-pressure moment of his college career. Cameras clicked. Reporters leaned forward. Everyone expected the typical rookie script. I'm learning, I'm grateful, one step at a time. But the energy in the room shifted before he even spoke. He didn't look nervous. He looked certain. And when the first question hit, a bold one, everything changed. Are you frustrated about not getting first-team reps? No hesitation, no sugarcoating, no corporate polished response. Just 6 quiet words that hit harder than any headline. I just need the reps. It wasn't anger. It wasn't complaint. It was a statement, almost a challenge. And that one sentence sent ripple effects through the entire organization. Because behind those 6 words was a message much louder than anything spoken out loud. If you give me the opportunity, I'll prove I belong. Reporters were stunned. Some leaned back. Some smiled. Some typed faster than they ever had. That answer wasn't emotional, it was intentional. It told everyone he wasn't rattled. He wasn't doubting himself. He wasn't asking for favoritism. He was asking for a fair fight. The next question pushed deeper. Do you feel like you're being overlooked?
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
Again, calm, controlled, measured. He said, nah, competition's part of the process. Iron sharpens iron. I just want a shot to show what I can do. No blame, no excuses, no victim mindset. Just confidence. Even the players watching later noticed it. Veterans nodded. Rookie teammates felt the shift. Coaches, even the ones still unsure, couldn't ignore the message. Because that press conference wasn't emotional hype. It wasn't fueled by desperation. It was something more dangerous. Conviction. The kind only elite competitors carry. And that tone didn't just silence critics, it started conversations. Fans online said, "That's QB1 energy." Analysts posted, "This kid isn't backing down." Insiders whispered, "He's forcing the organization to respond." But what made the moment unforgettable wasn't the words themselves, it was the way he delivered them. Calm, steady, unwavering. A young quarterback staring at doubt, expectation, pressure, and competition, and refusing to blink. Shedeur didn't walk into that room defensive. He walked in determined. And as he left the stage, one thing became crystal clear. He wasn't asking for the spotlight. He was preparing to take it. But the message didn't just change the narrative, it triggered something bigger. Because after that press conference, the coaching staff made a decision. And what happened next caught everyone off guard. What happened after Shedeur's press conference didn't stay quiet for long, because the moment he walked back into the locker room, the energy had already shifted. Some players saw his confidence as leadership. Others saw it as boldness bordering on impatience. Either way, the building no longer felt neutral. The quarterback battle wasn't just a storyline anymore, it was becoming a line drawn through the room. Veterans, especially the ones who'd spent years fighting for every snap, respected what Shedeur said, but they also understood the league differently. To them, the NFL wasn't about making statements. It was about proving yourself silently, day after day. Guys who had bounced between practice squads and short contracts muttered things like, "Yeah, he's talented, but this league humbles everybody." Not malicious, just real. Then there were the younger players, especially the rookies and second years. They saw Shedeur differently. He wasn't just another draft pick. He was someone who spoke the way they wished they could. Someone who didn't flinch when questioned. Someone who acted like he belonged. To them, he wasn't overstepping. He was setting the standard. Receivers, especially the ones who worked off-season reps with him, formed a natural circle around him, not physically, but socially. They believed the offense would eventually revolve around Sanders. Meanwhile, Gabriel's supporters, mainly offensive linemen and system-focused veterans, leaned toward stability. Gabriel ran the plays cleaner, faster, safer. He made fewer errors, and in a league built on consistency, that matters. No one argued openly, no one yelled, but conversations became shorter. Laughs in the room felt more selective. When Gabriel walked in, half the room dapped him up with respect. When Shedeur walked in, the energy turned sharper, not cold, but expectant. People chose sides, without ever saying a word. Some teammates believed Shedeur's confidence was exactly what the franchise needed: a spark, a belief, a future. Others believed starting a rookie before he was ready could ruin everything the team had been building. And the coaches, they felt the pressure most. Every time Sanders made a perfect throw in practice, players reacted louder than normal. Every time Gabriel executed flawlessly, there was a silent nod, the kind that said, "That's what winning football looks like." The divide wasn't toxic, not yet, but it was undeniable. As training camp continued, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a quarterback competition. It was a cultural battle. Old school versus new school. Experience versus potential. Consistency versus star power. Whispers in meeting rooms turned into debates. Reps in practice suddenly felt symbolic. Every decision, every snap, now carried weight. And just when the tension felt like it might level out, something unexpected pushed the rivalry into full-blown controversy. Because after a private coaches' meeting, a sudden decision leaked to the media, and it wasn't just a small shift. It changed everything. And the reaction. Shock, silence. And then, chaos. Behind closed doors, where cameras couldn't reach and reporters couldn't listen, the coaching staff had a problem. And it wasn't about talent. It was about direction. 2 quarterbacks, 2 philosophies, and 1 franchise identity hanging in the balance. What happened next felt less like football and more like strategy, a chess match unfolding one move at a time. On one side of the conversation were the coaches who believed in stability, the ones who saw Dylan Gabriel as the safest route. His timing was sharp, his decision-making was clean, and he ran the offense exactly the way it was designed. To those coaches, the answer was simple. Win now and win clean. On the other side sat those who believed the franchise needed more than execution. It needed momentum, star power, excitement, a future worth investing in. To them, Shedeur wasn't just a quarterback. He was a statement. And if the team wanted to evolve, they needed to commit early and build around him. 2 visions, 1 decision, no agreement. So instead of choosing outright, the coaches did something unexpected. They changed the reps. Not permanently, not officially. Just enough to see what would happen. Gabriel would still run with the first team, but now Sanders would rotate in. A few plays, a drive, maybe 2. It sounded simple, but inside a competitive environment it was. The moment the rotation started, every snap turned into evaluation. Every throw felt like judgment. Every mistake, from either quarterback, suddenly carried weight. And the coaches watched everything. Not just the throws. The reactions. How teammates responded. How the energy shifted. How confidence grew or cracked. Some assistants noted the offense felt faster when Shedeur took the field. Riskier, yes, but explosive. The ball didn't just move, it attacked. Receivers ran routes with sharper urgency, sensing big play potential. With Gabriel, the mood was different, calmer, steadier, controlled. Drives looked efficient, even clinical. No chaos, no guessing, just execution. Both approaches worked. Both approaches had supporters, which only made the decision harder. At one point, a coordinator whispered something that summed up the debate perfectly. Gabriel wins games. Shedeur changes franchises. And that sentence hung over every meeting that followed. But the turning point wasn't a single throw. It was a moment during film review. Gabriel made a technically perfect read, the kind coaches love, but the play ended modestly. Safe, predictable. Then came Sanders' clip. A broken pocket, a late read, a throw that should have never worked, but somehow did, threading between two defenders and hitting a receiver in stride for a touchdown. The room didn't cheer. But they felt it. Potential. Risk. Upside. The kind of play that changes the momentum of a game or the direction of a franchise. And right then, silently without voting or announcing it, the staff knew. This decision wasn't going away. It was only getting bigger. Because the next phase wasn't strategy. It was confrontation. And what happened next would push the quarterback battle from controlled competition to personal. Would you like the next chapter? The turning point in 500 words. As the days passed, something subtle but undeniable began happening. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just practicing, he was evolving. The mistakes he made early in camp didn't follow him from day to day. They disappeared. Decisions that took him an extra beat became instinctive. Plays that once looked overwhelming now looked familiar. The NFL speed that once shocked him no longer felt foreign, it felt manageable. This wasn't improvement by accident. This was intentional growth. Every morning, he arrived earlier than almost everyone. He sat with tablets, cut-ups, and defensive breakdowns. He studied tendencies, coverage disguises, timing windows, and pressure rotations. Coaches noticed he wasn't just memorizing the playbook, he was learning the logic behind it. The why, not just the what. During one practice, a defender disguised a blitz that had rattled him earlier that week. This time, he recognized it before the snap, changed the protection, adjusted the route, and hit his receiver perfectly in stride. The sideline reaction was different. It wasn't excitement. It was respect. Because learning under pressure is one thing, applying that learning against an NFL defense in real time is something else entirely. His communication improved too. Early in camp, his voice in the huddle was calm but uncertain, like someone still earning the right to be heard. Now, his tone had shifted. He spoke with clarity, with confidence, with command. Teammates listened not because they were required to, but because they wanted to. Even Gabriel noticed. What once felt like a comfortable lead began tightening. He'd execute a clean series, then Sanders would match him with something electric, something unpredictable, something that felt like the future. The coaching staff tracked everything: completion percentages, reads, efficiency, tempo. And while Gabriel still held the advantage in consistency, Sanders was gaining ground in the one category that couldn't be taught: impact. Several players quietly admitted the offense felt more dangerous when Sanders ran it. It wasn't always perfect, but when it clicked, it felt unstoppable. And maybe the biggest sign of growth came during a red zone period late in practice. Sanders made a throw he never would have attempted 2 weeks earlier, a tight window dart between defenders for a touchdown. The defense reacted instantly, frustrated, competitive, fired up. Instead of shrinking from that intensity, Sanders smiled. Not cocky. Confident. A moment later, a defensive captain walked over, tapped him on the helmet, and said just 3 words. "Now you get it." That wasn't praise. That was acknowledgement, the kind given only when a player earns their place. After practice, Sanders stayed late again, but this time something was different. Receivers stayed with him. Tight ends stayed. Even a few linemen lingered. They weren't helping a rookie anymore. They were building chemistry with someone they believed could lead them. Sanders wasn't there yet. But he wasn't the inexperienced rookie from day one anymore, either. He was becoming something more. A real contender. And that growth, that shift, is what set the stage for what came next. Because the next phase wasn't development. It was collision. And when the pressure peaked, the entire franchise would finally see who was ready to take control. Word travels fast in the NFL, faster than highlight clips, faster than rumors, faster than fan reactions. And as Shedeur Sanders continued climbing, what started as a local camp storyline suddenly became a national talking point. Analysts who dismissed him weeks earlier were now rewatching every rep, every decision, every throw. Former quarterbacks, head coaches, and scouts began weighing in, not because they wanted to, but because curiosity was turning into concern and intrigue. The league wasn't just watching. It was studying. Reporters across the country started asking the same question in different ways. Is Shedeur Sanders actually pushing for the starting job? And the answers were never certain, but always cautious. Some experts insisted it was only preseason hype. Others argued the growth was too real to ignore. A few bold voices went even further, suggesting he wasn't just talented, he might be special. Then came the comparison segments. Mahomes, Burrow, CJ Stroud, even Lamar. Not because Sanders was them, but because he reminded analysts of something all those quarterbacks had early in their careers. A shift in confidence that matched performance. Social media amplified everything. Clips of tight window throws, improvised plays, and leadership moments flooded timelines. Fans of other franchises, teams desperate for hope, began saying things like, "Man, the Browns might have found something." And with attention came skepticism. Some commentators publicly questioned whether the hype was just publicity fueled by his last name. Others wondered if the Browns were falling for excitement over stability. And yet, the more people tried to downplay what was happening, the harder it became to ignore. Because every time the spotlight turned on Sanders, he didn't shrink. He elevated. Networks requested interviews. Podcasts debated him. Op-eds argued whether Cleveland should hand him the reins now instead of waiting. Even former players chimed in, some praising his poise, others warning that rushing a rookie could destroy development before it even begins. But the real shift happened when front office insiders started leaking private comments to media outlets. Whispers turned into conversations. Conversations turned into speculation. Speculation turned into headlines. Cleveland may have a quarterback decision earlier than expected. The Browns' front office never confirmed anything, but they didn't deny it either, and that silence spoke louder than any press release could. Meanwhile, rival teams were paying attention too. Defensive coordinators were already imagining how they'd pressure him. Linebackers studied his tendencies. Cornerbacks analyzed his timing windows. Because if Sanders truly became the starter, nobody wanted to be the first team he embarrassed on national television. The NFL isn't just a league. It's a stage. And suddenly, Shedeur wasn't on the edge of it. He was stepping into the center. But attention comes with pressure. And with so many eyes watching, expectations rising, and momentum building, the next practice wasn't just another rep. It was a statement. And what happened next? It didn't just change the quarterback competition. It changed the entire conversation around the franchise. Because in the next chapter, everything finally boiled over. Nobody knew it was coming, not the fans, not the media, not even the players lining up on the field. It looked like another routine practice rep, another rotation, another opportunity for the coaching staff to compare, analyze, and evaluate. But sometimes moments aren't planned, they just happen. And when they do, everything before them feels irrelevant. The offense lined up for a 2-minute drill. Gabriel took the first series, calm and composed as always. He marched the offense efficiently, short passes, clock control, no panic. It wasn't flashy, but it worked. The drive ended with a field goal, solid, safe, predictable. Then Shedeur jogged onto the field. There was no announcement, no signal, no extra pressure from coaches. It was supposed to be just another possession in a scripted practice. But everyone watching felt it. The energy shifted. The defense dialed up pressure more than usual. Blitz disguises, delayed rushes, tight man coverage. They wanted to test him, maybe challenge him, maybe humble him. The first snap, a bullet to the sideline before the corner even turned his head. The next play, a check down after a disguised look, smart, not forced. Then came the moment that changed everything. The pocket collapsed fast. The defense brought 6. Any normal rookie would have panicked, taken the sack, or forced a mistake. But Sanders didn't flinch. He slid left, reset his feet, and fired a deep strike down the seam, right between 2 defenders, hitting his receiver perfectly in stride. Touchdown. Silence, then an eruption. The offensive sideline poured onto the field. Helmets slapped. Gloves tossed in the air. Even players who hadn't taken a stance in the quarterback debate couldn't hide their reactions. Somewhere between disbelief and excitement, someone shouted, "That's QB1 right there." And that wasn't just noise, it was validation. Coaches tried to stay composed. Clipboards stayed down. Expressions stayed neutral. But their eyes told the truth. That throw wasn't luck. It wasn't a guess. It was vision, timing, mechanics, and instinct all colliding in one impossible play. That was NFL level. After practice, the staff quietly met again. But this time, the tone was different. Nobody asked if Sanders could compete. The question became, can we really afford to wait? Some voices still argued caution, experience, stability, the safe route, but others pushed back harder than before. He's not just improving, he's accelerating. He's responding to pressure, not crumbling under it. He's changing the room. And they were right. Because from that moment on, the competition stopped being theoretical, it became undeniable. Cameras captured it, teammates felt it, rivals noticed it, and the organization had no choice but to acknowledge what everyone already knew. That throw wasn't the end of the debate. It was the beginning of the decision. And now, with momentum behind him and the league watching, one final question echoed louder than anything else. Was Shedeur Sanders ready to lead, or was Cleveland afraid of what would happen if they actually let him? Because the next chapter, that's where everything finally collides, with consequences. Every era in sports has a message, something bigger than wins, stats, or highlight plays. Some eras are defined by dominance, others by style, a few by revolution. But the rise of Shedeur Sanders carries something different, something deeper. It's not just about athletic ability or media attention. It's about rewriting expectations, breaking barriers, and forcing a conversation the league can no longer avoid. Talent isn't defined by where you come from. It's defined by what you're willing to become. For years, certain unwritten rules dictated the NFL landscape. Young quarterbacks needed to wait. Experience mattered more than potential. The league valued patience over impact, structure over instinct, and tradition over disruption. But every generation produces someone who sees the blueprint and refuses to follow it. Someone who doesn't just want to play the game, but wants to evolve it. Shedeur Sanders represents that shift. He's not just competing for a starting role. He's challenging the philosophy behind how quarterbacks are evaluated, prepared, and judged. Coming from an HBCU background, entering the NFL with a massive media spotlight, and carrying the Sanders name. That alone would have been enough pressure for most players to break under. But Shedeur has turned every expectation, every doubt, every headline into fuel. His rise tells players everywhere that the path doesn't have to be traditional to be legitimate. It tells coaches that talent can be ready sooner than expected. It tells organizations that fear-based decisions, protecting reputations instead of taking risks, will always cost them more in the end. And most importantly, it tells young athletes something they rarely hear in professional sports. Don't wait your turn if you can earn it. The message behind the era is confidence, not arrogance. Preparation, not hype. Authenticity, not performance. Shedeur isn't trying to fit the NFL mold of what a quarterback should look like, talk like, or act like. He's building a new mold, one forged in pressure, media attention, scrutiny, and expectation. And instead of hiding from it, he thrives in it. The league is learning a truth that his teammates already feel. Leadership isn't assigned. It isn't inherited. It isn't gifted. It is taken. The Sanders era is proof that the NFL is changing, not gradually, but rapidly. Teams can no longer ignore momentum, presence, or the intangibles numbers can't measure. The path to becoming a franchise quarterback isn't limited to draft pedigree or established systems. It's earned through resilience, preparation, and a refusal to play small. So when people look back years from now, they won't just remember the throws, the drama, or the competition. They'll remember the shift, the moment the league realized a new breed of quarterback had arrived. And that message will still echo. You don't join an era. You create it. When you rewind every headline, every rumor, every practice report, and every emotional moment tied to Shedeur Sanders' journey, one truth becomes impossible to ignore. This story was never just about football. It was never just about a quarterback competition, a trade, or a controversial decision at camp. It was about evolution of a player, of a team, and of the expectations placed on what a young quarterback is allowed to become in the NFL. From day one, Shedeur didn't walk into the league asking for comfort, support, or protection. He walked in challenging the standard. He walked in with preparation that matched his confidence, with pressure that fueled his mindset, and with belief that bordered on destiny. And whether you supported him or doubted him, you watched, because you had no choice. His presence demanded attention. But this journey didn't unfold in a straight line. There were moments where the organization hesitated, moments where the locker rooms split, moments where national analysts questioned whether the hype outweighed the ability, moments where some wondered if he should sit, wait, learn, and become the quarterback the old-fashioned way. And every single time, Shedeur responded, not with arguments but with action. Not with emotion, but with execution. Not with entitlement, but with work. The turning point wasn't just a practice, a throw, or a headline. It was the moment the Browns and the league realized that the game was changing. Quarterbacks are no longer developed behind closed doors in quiet progression. They're forged in lights, pressure, judgment, and expectation. The NFL no longer rewards patience, it rewards readiness. And Shedeur, he was built for ready. Now, as the dust settles and the narrative shifts, something remarkable has happened. This team has rallied around a belief they didn't start with, but now can't deny. This isn't just about whether Shedeur Sanders becomes the starter. It's about what he represents. A new mindset. A new standard. A new era. For Cleveland, this story becomes more than a roster decision. It becomes a statement. The Browns now stand at a crossroads, the safe move or the right move, the comfortable future or the bold one. And for Shedeur Sanders, the journey isn't finished, it's just beginning. Because the league is watching, fans are watching, critics are waiting, supporters are rising, and every player who has ever been told to wait their turn is seeing someone refuse to accept that rule. So when this era is remembered, when the highlight reels, documentaries, and retrospective conversations begin, there will be one defining theme. Pressure didn't break him. Expectation didn't shake him. And doubt didn't define him. He defined himself. And now, the NFL has to adjust. Because whether they like it or not, Shedeur Sanders isn't chasing the moment. He is the moment.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.